G'day, it's Grazza from Grazza's Freshwater Fishing, and today we're out here at my local Lake Eppalock in central Victoria for part 2 of my Fishing with Active Target series. So the plan is today is to provide you with the basic understanding and the skills to be able to operate your active target unit, show you some underwater footage of fish in their natural habitat, reacting to different lure presentations, and also to provide you with some tips on how I go about fishing with active target here at the lake. So without further ado, let's get this boat in the water, get out there amongst it, and hopefully catch a fish or two. Looking forward to it. Okay, one of the first things I want to show you is just how I've got the setup at the front of my boat. I've got a 420 Explorer, so it's not an overly big boat, but the things you just got to be mindful of with regards to where you're positioning your active transducer if you're mounting it on a pole is just how you've got your front setup. That's my casting deck, running a Minn Kota Terova at the front. I run a foot pedal and a hand held for my Minn Kota. It just depends on what sort of fishing I'm doing. I have the Elite FS9. I run a visor on mine just to help on a day like this when it's nice and sunny, just to make the clarity and the brightness a little bit better on the finder, and running the transducer pole, which I've got hooked to the gunnel with a D size ram mount. Went the D size, one that fits that pole, but two, it just provides me that additional strength, especially while out in the water if it's rough, and also when I'm traveling with the transducer pole sort of hooked back towards the boat. So you just need to be mindful of where you want to position that and just keeping a nice clean area at the front. With the active target, there's actually 3 modes that are available. You have forward, down, and scout modes. So to be able to shift from one mode to the other on your finder, you need to make the adjustment to your transducer. So we have the transducer, as we said, mounted to the pole. So currently we have the transducer in down mode, which is pointing forward. It's level, which is lining up to this notch just here. Now, to move the transducer to a forward mode, what we need to do is just back off this nut a little bit, tilt it to the next notch, which is just under there, tighten that back up. Now we have the actual transducer on a bit of an angle, which gives us that forward beam. So that transducer now is in forward mode. Now to go to the third mode, which is scout mode, it's a case of loosening off this top nut here, is bringing it around to this notch here, tightening that back up, and then making the adjustment to the transducer nut. And there's a little notch just under here, tightening that back up, and there you have it. We have the transducer now currently in scout mode. So that's how you go about making the adjustments from the 3 modes currently available with the active target. So what I want to do now is just take you through the basic setup I go through when I turn the active target on for the first time for the day. So first things first is to get the transducer in the water. So it's just a case of making sure we've got plenty of length in the cable, making sure this cable isn't tight, that there's plenty of slack there. Just undoing this wing nut, I've currently got the transducer in forward mode, dropping that down and just tightening up that wing nut to ensure that I can freely turn or rotate this pole freely without it moving too much once I've stopped. So the next step is to fire the fish finder up. So we'll just turn it on. Just wait for that to fire up. So as previously mentioned in my other video, I'm running the Elite fish finders in my boat, one in the console, and I have the Elite FS9 here at the front of my boat. So we'll just wait for that to fire up. Just accept that. Okay, so we just hit the pages button. Go into, we've got chart, sonar, side scan, down scan, steer and active target. So hit active target. And there we are. As you can see, we're in a pretty deep water. And there, first up, you'll see a massive bait ball. So a heap of little reddies. Actually, they might even be not bad size reddies. Just there, sort of 20 meters out in front of us. So you're just straight out that way. Basically the functions I look at first, it's loaded up. As you can see, we're in pretty deep water here. I just hit on our menu button, make sure it's in the right mode from the top. So as indicated before, I'm in forward mode. You can see there, that's where you have the options of determining which mode that you want. There is the option of auto, which it sort of determines what mode you're in, but I tend to select the one that I want. Just hit back. Forward range, I generally stick to that sort of 10 to 25 meters looking forward. So we've got that set on 20. Back that off. Our down range, I'm just going to leave it auto for now. Back that off. Noise rejection, I just leave that on low. Depending how much interference that you've got, you got to make sure if you're running two transducers on your boat, just make sure that you turn any other transducer off, because you'll find you'll get a heap of interference. The great thing about the active target is, and what I've really liked, is just how it's just plug and play. Yeah, it's pretty easy to sort of get a understanding of it. So so we've just pulled up at this spot. Now we've got a lot of sort of dead timber, varying at different depths. So we've sort of got a lot of timber over there in the shallows. And as it sort of comes out of this bay, gets a fair bit deeper. So the plan is to sort of just work through this timber, noting that it's still pretty early in the afternoon. So generally what you'll find is fish will be holding pretty tight to timber, even to the point where you won't see them unless you entice them to come out of that timber with a lure. So one of the things you'll find when fishing with active target is you'll see fish at all sorts of levels. So you potentially got to see fish directly under the boat. You're going to see fish, 2 to 3 meters out in front of you, or depending on how far you've got your forward range set out, you may see fish 25 meters out in front of you. So one of the things that I generally like to do is to be prepared for all of those situations. So what I generally do is I'll have my rods and my lures already set up. So I'll generally have that bobber or that ice jig for that option if I see, you know, a school of redfin underneath that boat where I can sort of drop that straight down. Or I'll have my little grub here, little plastic grub. It's just got a little 1/0 hook in it. Now I'll use that for the same thing, drop that directly under the boat, but it also gives me that option to sort of throw it a few meters out in front of me for chasing that fish that I might see in the distance. Also a good option for jigging under the bottom. And if I generally fishing at this time of year, we're in spring, sort of chasing a few yellows. What I like to do is to have a crankbait ready. So, you know, I've got one of these little fat vibes here, which will sink straight to the bottom. Just another option to sort of throw out in the distance. Great thing about this, once again, is you can sort of just drop that down straight under the boat as well. So yeah, so once again, just make sure that, because you know you can see them in an instant, fish will come in and out of your beam like that, and they might be gone. They may only be there for a couple of seconds. They may hang there for, you know, half a minute. So just making sure that you've got that lure and that setup ready to go, so when you do see them, you can throw that lure out and get that presented in front of them. We've got some trees just out in the front of us there, and we've got the school of reddies just hanging here. They're holding really tight, they're not sort of moving around much, but just drop the bobber down there and, you know, 2 bobs in and bang, we're on. But as you can see, those real sort of dull spots, they're fish. And yeah, holding really tight. So we'll drop the bobber down there again. So one of the great things about fishing with Active Target is the ability to sort of scan an area. So what we have here is we're sort of out in the middle of the lake here. We've got all this dead timber, submerged timber, and we've sort of got this sort of surrounding area here, as you can sort of see. So the great thing about the Active Target is it gives us the ability to see what's going on around this structure. Now remembering the beam here is in the opposite of the handle, and that's how I've got the transducer set up. So basically now this transducer is pointing straight at those trees. So this tree out in front of us here, and as a result you can sort of see the tree here on the scope of the transducer. So we're sort of pointing across here now, moving to our left. As you can see, there's some trees hanging around, fish hanging around the top of that tree, which is that tree just out yonder there. You can sort of see 10 meters out. I'll just sort of pan that back in, it's a better look at it. Then we'll sort of pan around to our trees here at 12 o'clock, and you can sort of see that there. As we sort of pan around, obviously there's a few trees sort of sitting in there, a few fish sort of sitting in there. You got one just here right underneath my motor. That's my motor, my encoder in the water there. So that section there. Now those trees there, you know, they're sort of 10-15 meters out. So we sort of pan across over to those. And you can sort of see, there it is, that 10 to 15 metres out, that tree sitting there. Yeah, so as you can see, it just gives you that ability to sort of have a look around. As I sort of said, pan, stop. Remember, fish are moving, so they're moving in and out of the beam of your transducer. I'm just sort of slowly panning back around to that 3 o'clock position now. You're sort of in and out of those trees, so stop there. Remembering it's still pretty early in the afternoon here, so not seeing a lot of action, a lot of movement from fish, that is. So we've just pulled up at this spot, quite a sort of rocky bank, goes off into the main sort of river arm here, which sort of heads back towards the spillway. What we're going to do once again is just sort of hug this bank, just slowly sort of work up it and sort of cast sort of back out into the drop off and run our lure back up along the bank. We'll run the transducer pole out to the right so we can see what's happening out there, and also just in relation to how fish are reacting to the lure. So let's get this motor in and get into it. So we've got a fish coming up there to have a look at that lure. Good fish. Just running the stump jumper over the top of it. Let's see if it will do it again. You can see that fish there. You start to see my stump jumper going along the top there at about 2 meters. See that fish down the bottom there. So what we're going to do now is have a bit of a change up. We'll throw this fat vibe in there, and let's see if they want to prepared to take that. This just takes a little bit longer to sink. So to see it sinking here. Okay. See my lure. And and here comes another one to have a go at it. Oh, hook up. It's not quite. And you can see them all here. Fish, fish, fish. Anyway, I'll get that back out there. So the lure's dropping down here. There's fish here, and fish there, just there. Got a fish coming off the bottom now to have a look at the lure as it's dropping. You can see here. Just got to keep it. Look at that fish go. Have a crack at it. Go, 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 go. And it's going to go past another fish. See whether that's interested. No, and you can see that fish has gone back to where it was. Certainly plenty of inquiries, but just no hookup. So we've got a fish holding out there about 10 metres out. So we've put another cast in. That's not my greatest cast. Lure coming down now. Oh, there's that good fish coming up. Let's have a look at it. Oh, here comes a fish, come up, like it's just flown up to have a look at that. Take it, take it, take it. Oh, I got him. There you go. Just came, flew up the top there and grabbed that lure just at the very last minute. Little reddy just came off the bottom. We're just going down here. I've just changed my angle up here just to see if I can generate any interest out this side. Yep, here comes a couple of fish now. They have a look at it, and oh, I got him. And there you go, you can see the fish coming up now. I think I've dropped him. No. Yeah, there you go. I've seen quite a few good fish just sort of out that sort of 15-20 metres, a little bit further out on that drop off. So here we go again, lure going down. The fish, quite a few fish hanging there. Water's just hitting the water. See my lure there. And what I'm finding is I'm having more success with just maintaining a constant sort of pace with the lure as compared to just jigging or stopping and rolling up over the bank. Oh, look at the fish coming up off there now. Big school of them chasing me. Oh, big, and there you go. Big school of reddies chased that, came just off the bank, and as I said before, you can't really see them, and until you roll that lure over the bank, until you really roll that lure over the bottom there, and you saw a big school of them come off the bottom. And some good fish in there too. So just remembering, just with the transducer, is, you know, having the pole and the because it's only quite a thin beam, is just having that transducer pointing in the direction that you want to cast. Now obviously I've got my forward at set at 20 meters, because I can't cast any further than that, so there's no point, you know, having it 25 or 30 unless I'm scouting. While I'm casting, bring it back to 20 or 15 depending on how far you're getting that lure out, which is just going to give me a little bit more defined images, clarity, when rolling that lure back through structure, weed beds, that type of thing. See my lure there. There's fish chasing it, fish chasing it, fish chasing it, and going back. And now I've got another one coming up to have a look at it. So I'll put another cast out there. coming down. And we've got fish coming up already. See him chasing here. Oh, I've got a couple of good ones now. Look at them all shooting up to have a look at it. And no luck. So a little grub here, just a 3/8 of an ounce jig head, just that little blade there, so we'd generate some interest with that. Now, being a bit smaller, a little bit harder to pick up. The blade will show here. Here it is going down here. A few fish chasing it. Look at that, look at that, look at that. Yeah, oh, I was on. Eased off. Grub here, it's just a 3-ounce head, 1/4 ounce head, just a 1/0 hook. It's got a little Colorado blade on it. So I'll flick that out there and see how we go with that. See the lure's just sort of slowly going down there. See our lure just there. Got a fish coming up now, rising. This one had to think about it. Just drop this back down. Got a fish coming up to smash it right now, and it just went away. As indicated before, really can't see any fish on the bottom there, but once you roll that lure up, it gives you a really good idea what's sort of coming. So once again, just throwing that lure in the beam, so we can see it come down in the transducer, seeing how fish react to it, which is the advantage of the active target. Just hitting the bottom now, just let that settle. Just slowly just rolling that over the bottom. Here's a fish here coming up. Look at them coming up to have it. And on. And on. And there we go. Just came right off the bottom there. Sort of holding and then bang, off. So as you can see, just making sure with the active target we're sort of pointing the pole in the direction that we want to cast. Dropping that lure in that beam, as you just saw there, so we can see that lure drop, see if there's any fish actually falling or any fish holding on the bottom there, and yeah, seeing those fish come up and attack it. Initial look, you wouldn't even think there's fish there, but until you roll that lure up over the bottom, seeing them react off the top, you know to spend that a little bit more time in there trying to generate that strike. Lure going down. Lure rolling along the bottom there. Here we got to go, fish coming up now. And doesn't want to take it. Just drop it down, see what he's... No. So what we've got here is our boat's just here. We're casting out forward. We're actually just sitting on a weed bed just here, which is what these are coming up here, and just rolling that lure back into that weed bed. Sometimes you just got to make a minor adjustment to the transducer pole, just so you do get that lure in your beam. As you can see, I'm rolling now. Got a fish coming up. Okay, we just got to put this little fat vibe back in there so that generates any interest. Up to have a crack at that now. Gotta take it. It's basically at the boat. Saw the boat and spooked off. So what an absolute glorious evening on the lake. Well, there you have it, fishing with Active Target here out at Lake Eppalock. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would love it if you gave it a like. Plan on doing quite a few trips over this spring summer period at different locations across central Victoria. So if you love your fishing, please subscribe to my channel at Grazza's Freshwater Fishing. If you have any comments or any questions, please drop them in the comment section below. Thanks once again for watching, and I hope to see you out on the water very soon.